Thursday evening, May 30th, show number 133. Welcome to the Over the Hump Day edition. As we had to modify our schedule. But as always, it's another pot full of goodness as we bring you another soul-stabbing episode of Soul Tree Radio in the Raw. I'm your host, Michael Lewis Ingram, DJ Honeycomb, and as always, it is good to be in the house with you. As always, Soul Tree Radio on the Raw, sponsored by the Black Athlete Sports Network, Roland Rogers and Loving Memory. As we come to June being Black Music Month, we're going to step things up musically, and there will be a lot of shows this month, music-oriented, as we will make our case, as we try every year, since we've been in existence here, including that and the other show, Bachelor Pad, we were on, where we try to make the case for artists, performers to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It should be really exciting, and like I said, there'll be a lot of music going around. Also, our friends at 1450 AM in Richmond, WCLM, the soul of Richmond, Virginia, Cowboy Reggie and crew, ride and heard on things down there. Our colleague, Pat Freeman, the mighty Oba, may his tribe increase. Up in Buffalo, New York at WUFO 1080 AM, The Mix. Love what he does up there. You hear my colleague Gary Gray snickering in the background. As Mr. Biggs is rolling off to handle his business, also our friends at Guardian Caps, Lee and Aaron Hansen, Mike Feely, our colleague Anthony Johnson, who's normally on at this time, who's doing his thing actually on air. So either you're listening to Anthony now or you're going to listen to him afterwards, or either way, brother always has good things to say. He's an impassioned brother. Check him out if you're not checking us out, and check him out after you check us out. So Brother Johnson doing his thing tonight from 9 to 10. But we're going to be on until 11 o'clock as always. Having said that, thanks to you all for chiming in and putting up with us as we have to make adjustments. On the menu tonight, it's going to be intriguing. We've got on Turntable One, Rutgers Rubbish. More shit hits the fan as the hiring and firing debacle at Rutgers still goes by, ignoring the kids, the ones who really are behind all this, who should be compensated properly. And where are the lawsuits from Mike Rice throwing balls and abusing those kids like he did? You know, we haven't even got to that yet, but we got to carry on. On Turntable 2, Real Tiber, Fake-Ass Habitat. Now, we're not talking Cat Williams, we're talking Tiger Woods. He starts to get his growl on as he's punking out Sergio Garcia again. And this is important to talk about because of what Tiger had been through. So we'll throw that in the pot later. On Turntable 3, we got a remix. The Heat being on D-Wade tonight because we want to know, can Miami make it with a subpar Dwayne Wade? You can tell he's been noticeably not on his game, and we want to see if D-Wade can make it through. And also, the Jay-Z factor. Will the NFL do a Tank Black on Jay-Z as he's looking to carve into that money stream? And you know when they start messing with the money, G, things get funny. And Gary Norris Gray, host of Gray Leopard Cove, is in the mix as well. What's up, G?
I know about get that groove on. Get groove on.
I know that's right. Don't forget my theme song when you're rolling that ball down the lane. Tear them pins up, baby. But before we go anywhere, I want to bring up, first of all, something that Brother Gray has been on point for years. And I say years. And that is Washington's NFL team changing that fucking nickname. Now, everybody thought it was kind of like chipping at the Rock of Gibraltar with a butter knife, but Brother Gray has been on it steadily. And even though I popped in every now and then, he was steady on it, as well as some others around the world and in this country. As my grandma is part Seneca Indian Iroquois Nation, it was important. And I tried very hard. You know, I slip sometimes. I tried very hard in my career to avoid writing Washington's football name. For the same reason that you don't want to call the New York's basketball team the New York Niggers or the Kansas City Kikes or anything else. It is a pejorative. And that's exactly how the attitude toward presenting themselves as some sort of team with some sort of historic past should be looked at. You could just make your team the Washington Warriors. Go ahead, G.
Well, now I understand why Mr. Snyder went crazy last week. years ago.
Mm-hmm. What Gary's...
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say what Gary's referring to, everybody, is the fact that there seems to be a movement, a small ripple of politicians who are either, for whatever reason they're doing, really doesn't matter as much as the overall, which is they're trying to strong arm Snyder to change the name.
Yep. Well, it's going to happen. Look, this is going to happen anyway. It's only a matter of time because people are slowly moving in the direction anyway. So a losing cause. It's only a matter of time before we're going to happen. And I think Snyder knew that. That's why he did what he did.
Mm-hmm. But what bothers me is that there is no losing cause, Gary. This SOB is going to make money no matter how he slices it.
I know.
If the name is changed to the Washington Warriors or the Washington Warhawks or whatever the hell it is, he's still going to make money. He's going to make money off of the new merchandise. Anybody who was a long-standing Washington football fan who has memorabilia and all that, their stuff will go up. You know, all that stuff. You know, it's kind of like the classic comic book. And now it's even increased more in worth now because it's another sub chapter to it, and so the original ones are worth more.
Well, see, Michael, what we as America have to do now, the people who have the old the R word stuff, have to get that stuff up. Do not use the R word ever again in the history of this lifetime. The gain respect, you have to earn respect. And the ones who will go and not got my respect yet, so they do what's right.
But to see Daniel Snyder's side of it, he's like, look, I bought the team. I don't give a shit what y'all feel. I can do with it exactly what I want. And it's that same kind of arrogant sense of entitlement atmosphere that turns some people off. You know, they can say, oh, it's tradition, hail to the you-know-whats and all that BS, but the bottom line in all this is that this is a situation easily as fixable as a name change. And given the scope of the effect that name has on some people, it can be done immediately. There wouldn't be any year time frame in between. It's not like you're asking to change the colors of the team or the logo of the team. Actually, nothing wrong with the logo, you know.
No.
It's a red man. He looks noble. All that other good shit. There's no problem with the logo. The only problem is the damn name.
And the thing is, Joe Patrols understand this. The Cleveland Indians are next.
Exactly.
Not because of the name, but because of the logo. Okay?
That's exactly right.
All by agenda, they're next.
Exactly right.
Done. Look out. I'm go after you next.
You were reading my mind, brother, because that's exactly right. You can't put the foot to Washington's ass and Daniel Snyder without going after the Cleveland Indians for the exact same thing. Nothing wrong with the name, with that damn logo, and don't give me this crap about it being iconic. There's nothing iconic about that logo. And people want to make the point that they're saying it's a caricature. No, it's not a caricature. When you break it down, okay, go ahead.
Senator Tenders from North Dakota in an article years ago said it's a red damo. That's what the Cleveland Indian logo is. It's a red damo. That's exactly what it is.
It is.
Exactly.
My colleague, Tak Makita, who spent many years photographing American football here and in Japan, made a point about a healthcare product that they had in the markets in Japan at one time. It was called Darky toothpaste, and you know where I'm going with this. The logo on the toothpaste was your classic Sambo, blackface, exaggerated features, the whole nine. And when people started to pull their coat to what that meant, Japanese backed up and were like, oh, wait a minute, we didn't realize that. Okay. And they got rid of the logo. They stopped using it. Was still called Darky toothpaste, but they got rid of the logo. That's all it took.
But they were again. America told them to do that. We had to realize the white American government told that's okay. You go ahead and do that. They didn't know what it really meant. That's the kind of stuff that we need to stop because of the American government export racism. That was outright exploitation of racism. And no excuse for that kind of nonsense.
Well, let's be real, Gary. I don't know how many Cleveland baseball fans there are out there, and especially black ones. You know, I mean, we're not even making a black thing, expanding the scope. Cleveland fans see that logo. I don't know if a Cleveland fan will wax poetic and tell me how much they adore Chief Wahoo. You know, Chief Wahoo could very easily look like the logo on Washington's football helmets.
Right.
And there would be no argument. Chief Wahoo could have had a makeover. We saw makeovers with several logos. We saw makeovers with the Chicago Cubs. We saw makeovers with the Atlanta Braves. You know, there's always been makeovers.
I went to the Cleveland Indian logo back in 1942, mid-40s. That logo was worse.
Sure was.
And they told me, when you change the logo to better itself, you know you're wrong. You know you're doing wrong when you change the logo. And they changed it 3 times.
That's exactly right.
They told me that you're
you know,
right from the beginning.
Gary, you know somebody is telling them, we don't like that damn logo. And let's be real. When Larry Doby and other black players like Satchel Paige, Luke Easter,
Louis Tiant,
Louis Tiant, El Tiante probably made the greatest statement of all about not pitching in that uniform because of the logo.
Right.
And people don't talk about it. And as we say this, since we got somebody right next door getting ready to drive up and bust a cap in Daniel Snyder's ass, we're going to bring in Cowboy Reggie into the mix. So, Cowboy.
I got to go, guys.
Hey, brother.
Well, first of all, I'm glad you got the show on. And the thing that troubles me is that you got a lot of black folks and Indians. I go up and down 95 every day. I listen to 106.7 The Fan with LeVar Arrington and also 105 The Fan in Baltimore. And I tell you, it's a hot issue. But the sad thing about it is that you got Negroes out here that will fight you tooth and nail and dare you even talk about the name change. And I know me and G, I love Gary to death, but I tell Gary all the time, I know what he says about boycotting, but they got a waiting list over 10 to 20 years. If you don't get a ticket, they got people standing in line. And when it comes to paraphernalia sales, and it makes it so bad, Mike, here in Richmond, Virginia, they took $30 million of educational tax funds from education to pay for the Washington football training facility in Richmond, Virginia. And that's a black mayor who had to be a minister. But I digress.
Now, that always bears repeating because that's some scary stuff as Gary just popped out. Reggie, when we look at all of this, the fact that Washington could change their name and be stank rich. I mean, people would buy their stuff 10 times over. When you look at what the Indians do with that logo and realize if they change Chief Wahoo to look like a noble chief, they'd make stank money 10 times over. The arrogance of these sons of bitches to continue to do this would make me as a consumer think I could give a fuck about Cleveland baseball or Washington football. I will never spend a penny on you motherfuckers, ever. But we don't get that vibe. We don't get that vibe that people feel that they really need to do that.
But, Mike, I got to add this to you. Daniel Snyder tried to sue a local paper in Washington, D.C., because it was a failed business deal that he did in Florida. It was some kind of one of those telemarketing scams or whatever. And they had a picture of him with horns on. Now, he's upset because he, check this out, of Jewish descent. Now, my argument, I've called both shows, and here's my argument. I said, well, if Mr. Snyder is so ambivalent to keep the name, Why was it that he tried to shut down a small newspaper because he was upset because not only he claimed that it was anti-Semitic because of his Jewish heritage and they had horns on his head, but he should be sympathetic to this cause.
It's too easy to say that it's a given that's exactly what should happen, but we know how they roll with stuff like this. Into the mix.
Yes, sir.
Into the mix, we throw in our colleague from JCE TV. As we talked about, the whole Rutgers fiasco was going to be among our turntable topics, and live and live in color, my brother Patrick Farrar. Brother, what's up?
So what it ain't. How's everybody doing? And Reggie, Reggie?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got your Facebook information. Just want you to forget.
Good. We need to get you on show in the Rutgers situation. But I'm go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Now, Patrick, I know you've been on this Jersey thing for a long time.
Let the
and
truth
you saw
out.
Rutgers. Yeah, you saw Rutgers, who always knew the difference between shit and Shinola because they're one of the oldest universities in the country, start making a financial push, and they became a little more notorious, literally, off of everything that started with the Mike Rice scandal and now has worked its way all up to its upper management situation. So if you would, encapsulate the whole deal for us.
All right, fellas. Let me put it to you this way. All right? It goes in so many platforms, but I was on board with what they had to do relative to making the kind of decisions that they had to fill the position.
Right.
Until, you remember the game back in I think it was September between the Seahawks and the Packers? And that last minute play and when Wilson threw the ball in the corner and Golden Tate went up to jumped over the player from the Packers and actually knocked his tail down. It should have been pass interference and took the ball.
Yep.
Immediately after that, when they asked Golden Tate in the locker room about the incident, the reporter says, "Well, Golden Tate, well, tell us about the play. You knocked the guy down and you got the ball." And famously, he says, "I don't know what you're talking about." I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. That's what the Lord tell you. Deny.
Yeah. So
player move.
so then she asked him again. Well, you recently got the guy. We got instant replays here. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, let's go to Julie Herman. Julie Herman said, she was all ready to take the job, and she had this meeting with these students back 17 years ago, and when they asked about it, she did a Golden Tate. I don't know what you're talking about.
Smooth player.
And then she did the place said, "So wait a minute, yes you do." No, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, then she did the lady who said don't get pregnant, and and then she went to a wedding. She says, "I don't know what you're talking about." Then they show was still with her at the wedding, right? Mm-hmm. So that is enough. Well, then they said, "Wait, okay, forget this deal. We have a video of you. We have a video of you at the wedding on doing an electric slide." And she says, "What video?" They showed the video. She says, "I don't know what you're talking about." Now,
I love it.
Let me ask you this question. If that were me and any of y'all right now who were in that position and we gave the Golden Tate, I don't know what you're talking about, they would immediately put a gallon of unleaded gas down our drawers with the light ready to match it. The fire.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Now, it comes to the point now, she has put herself in a position to where, Fat Boy, I said Fat Boy, double chin, double neck Christie, all of a sudden, well, I'm not going to get involved in the process of Rutgers running stuff. Well, stop lying. That's why you hired Bocce to bring on.
It's a state school.
Thank you.
How can you not get in the process?
Thank you, bro. Wait, he's the guy that told Bocce, well, you got to fire somebody, and he did. Mm-hmm. It was him that That's the bottom line. And they made poor Tim Panetti the scapegoat. Okay? I'll get back to Tim Panetti in a minute. So now they come to the situation to where they got to deal with the repercussions. As of this afternoon, there is a push to bring Tim Panetti back. Now, here's what it breaks down to. Oh, yeah, because there is a big fraction going on with the alumni. No, here's what. Let me say that. Well, here's what it boils down to. You know, this big fraction comes to 2 points. We have people who want to defend this Georgia group that did the outreach for the information. First of all, you paid them $70,000 and you didn't get nothing back. They could have paid me like $500, and we could have found that out.
Thank you.
$70,000. And here's the government talking about we spend too much money on waste. Really? Okay. So you got two fractions. You got one fraction of alumni who, led by this woman that's got a name. She's a Rutgers alumni who's the vice president of Morgan Stanley, who was pushing to get a woman in there for the job.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, you got one. You got the wrong one. Then you got the other side of the alumni who's saying, wait a minute, this is a mess. This is a mess that we're in. It's an embarrassing to the university, and and here's where it gets really nasty. Big time donors now saying something has to change. We don't know if she should be come here on June 15th to take this job. That's happening as of right now. And now on the one side, where with Julie Herman, with the woman that's supporting Julie Herman, she has the academics backing her up, along with Bocce, who was brought in primarily to save the Rutgers, to reconstruct Rutgers University, particularly from the medical school, which because if you know anything about New Jersey, we have a plethora of very viable and influential drug companies in this state, which wants to take over that hospital area, which affects so much money in New Jersey in terms of drugs and the medical field. Now, that fraction backs Bocce. There's another fraction that's saying, now, wait a minute, this guy has come in with no knowledge of athletics and is bitten them in the butt and is embarrassing our university. We got to do something about this. And the people that are saying that are the folks who got money from here across the George Washington Bridge. And as we know, money talks and everything else, what? War.
Hello. What's the matter?
So that's what's going on now. Now, in addition to that, here's the other issue. They made
the young and restless.
Please, it's worse than that. Now, someone said to me, well, you know, how is it going to affect their relationship with the Big Ten? Now, I know Jim Delaney. I met him. He's a nice guy. But here's the bottom line. If I'm a executive with the Big Ten network, which is the most lucrative regional sports, regional conference network in the country. Now, of course, SEC has one with ESPN. You know, the Texas network down there. ACC is getting one. So the Big Ten made that reach into the New Jersey market for a particular reason. Now, if I'm an executive at the Big Ten network and I see this going on, someone says, well, it might affect how they get in the Big Ten. You know what I'm saying? Short of that heifer murdering somebody, I don't give a damn what she does, because we need that stretch in the New York market, which is going to double my salary. That's what they're dealing with. So it doesn't affect the Big Ten at all. So the mess boils down to what donors with the longest money is going to tell Bocce, look here, if you don't get that heifer back to Louisville, we don't care what Christie does, because we got the money to stop what's going on. That's it.
Now, there's two other things that need to be thrown into the pot here, brother. The first is about Panetti, as you talked about. The second, actually three things. The second thing is Eddie Jordan coming on, knowing he didn't graduate, and not knowing that they were going to look under his ass with a fine-tooth comb, just like you said, put some gasoline in them drawers and set him on fire if he didn't come in correct. But worst of all of this is, has there or will there be any sort of legal action taken toward the school or at punk-ass Mike Rice by any of the Rutgers ball players because they have video evidence of abuse, and they could, if they wanted to, adjudicate this shit out of the university and make them pay the money that they should have paid them in the first damn place for playing basketball for them.
It's a good perspective, Mike, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Their balls ain't that big. In regards to Eddie Jordan, let me make something perfectly clear that folks don't understand.
Please do.
Eddie Jordan is, I think, a couple of credits from finishing. Now, people don't understand this. You don't, through the NCAA rule, you do not have to have a degree to coach basketball. You don't have to have a degree. Right. On top of that, let's see, he got about $30-40 million in the NBA. Exactly. What's the degree going to do at that point? He's coached the Clippers. He's coached the Matter of fact, he was the defensive genius behind Byron Scott with two NBA championships, and you want about 3 credits for a degree and $30 million backing him up? Please stop it. Sit down, shut up. Now, in terms of what the players are going to be doing, the players ain't got them kind of. Tell you, half them brothers need to be graduating, worrying about trying to sue somebody. You know, so to me the impetus is, and I when I heard about this afternoon, I said, you know, it makes sense. Bring Panetti back because he has such a strong following on campus, even with the faculty. And the donors who got the longest money, they're saying he was a scapegoat. Bring him back.
But you said it yourself. He helped broker the deal to get them in the mix in the first place. So obviously, somebody who's making you money, you ain't gonna turn them loose if you don't have to.
And then when that decision was to hire Rice over Jordan, you know, his arm was twisted to do that. His arm was twisted. And then even at that he said, I read somewhere, and I know about Panetti saying this, that, you know, it was a mistake. Okay, folks make mistakes, and I have no problem with that. Make mistakes, but the mistake that Rutgers made, making him the scapegoat, that's Bocce covering his ass because he didn't do what he was supposed to do to get things right.
Right. Hey, Patrick, here's my question. Now, from the political point of view, the Mouse and other people have saying that Chrissy Todd Whitman, that the governor there of New Jersey, has some Democrats that are trying to help him out for his presidential run. What have you heard about the cross-party lines and what's going on from the political situation?
Well, you know, the governor's up for election this year, and which he's going to win, unfortunately, because a lot of Jersey voters are a bunch of punks. I'm going to try to vote 10 times against him, but I might go to jail doing it, though. I'm serious.
I love it.
Because I'm in education, you know, and I know what he's done with education, but he's choked folks around education. But the point is, no, he's you know, he's in a situation where he's embarrassed, and he's not. Tell you, he's not going to be in a position where he's going to be the fall guy. If Rutgers makes a decision, believe me, and he's going to say, it's going to keep my name out the paper, you do what you got to do.
There you go. It's scary. But that's the reality of the situation. And Patrick, as you say these things, the fact that Christie is avoiding all of this, and he's getting the cooperation of the local media to do it, because you would have thought that the Star Ledger and every other major paper was left, and
the radio station
media devices would be in full force against his ass. What are you doing? This guy is one of the highest paid employees because he's a state employee in this state, and you're allowing this to just sit and fester, and you're not going to intervene? So he's going to have a Kodak moment with the president throwing a fucking football over the Jersey Shore?
And guess what? Let me say something about that. It was the president that saved his big ass. Believe me.
Yes, he did.
Because his numbers were dwindling. You see, he got two things that got him in his position. First of all, when he indicted the folk here in Jersey City in terms of what was going on, he was behind this for 6-7 years before this happened. First of all, if you know a crime's going on, you're gonna let it go 8 years, and at the right moment we go, let's turn it in. At the time your election comes up, so you get free publicity. He got publicity for free. Okay, that's how he got in the first time. Unfortunately, Sandy happened to the folks in South Jersey, and he looked like an all-star. Well, first of all, that's what you're supposed to do to go and help out people. But he brought in the president that made his big ass look good, which created the momentum to him to have the kind of lead that he has in New Jersey now. So this guy has taken advantage of two opportunities that unfortunately that hurt people to propel his career. So I tell you, if he runs for president, I will tell you, personally, I worked with public relations firms out in Ohio who put one governor in, took one governor out. He going to have to be careful, because if you think they found stuff on Herman, wait till they find out the kind of grease he used to wipe his mouth off, eat them donuts when he going to go on the road.
And don't forget them 7-Up big cups you can drink.
Thank you. Because you got a lot of guys and reporters in Jersey that won't go after him. You know, folks across the country, they're gonna go after what kind of drawers he wear. They're gonna go after him. I'm telling you, and he ain't gonna. You see, he can lose it. You see, he's a bully. He's a bully, and see, here's the kid that kills me, guys. He goes to these small little towns where white folks are and talks tough and bullies people. He ain't been to Newark. No, he went to Newark on a little Baptist church and didn't tell anybody he was coming. He ain't been down to Camden, you know. He ain't been to East Orange, and you know he can't. When he comes to Jersey City, he goes right by the turnpike and gets right out. He had no town meeting. Tell you, he had no town meeting in Jersey City because I know folk who waiting for him to have a town meeting here. They have to have the National Guard around him to have a town meeting in Jersey City, because they tell you. Bully somebody in Jersey City, I know these folks who would eat him alive, and he knows that. So if he can't handle this, what's he going to do when he goes on the road to other cities when they don't care nothing about him?
Exactly.
He can have another surgery with that belly.
Well, you know,
surgery
or not, the real sad problem is that he's carving up Jersey, the state of it, by carving teachers out of the mix. And
brother, please.
We reported on our last show what Rahm Emanuel is doing with his Dick Dastardly ass in trying to get DePaul University, a brand new stadium, yet cut 50 schools in the process for doing this. This is no accident. That it's happening in Jersey is just, and this scandal just highlights what's been happening all across the country. People are trying to deliberately dumb folks down, and we're losing things in the mix because somebody wants a shiny new stadium, or as Richard Pryor would say, he wants a park where he can ride his horsey.
That's it.
Too.
You know, and
don't forget about Virginia. Same thing here.
Well, I can tell you very briefly. I'm not going to go into a list, but Chrissy's a part of this group, along with the Cook brothers, that are out to change education totally.
Oh, yes.
You know, there are things that they've done. This is not by mistake. This is by design. And he's one of the guys that's involved in the process. And believe me, it would have been disastrous if Romney would have won, because Romney's one of those guys in that group.
That's exactly right. Let's not be cute about this, because since Patrick brought it up, we need to go in that direction. The Koch brothers, after spending billions of dollars on the election, when I say I'm talking about cummed money, ad time, all the other shit, money's underneath the table. The Koch brothers spent all this money and got very little back in their return. So they decided, like all good pimps, they don't want some or half, they want all that cash. So they're investing in buying all the newspapers, or the big chains, so the McClatchy, all the other ones that are left, Tribune, all those, they're all going to be owned under the Koch brothers or the Koch brothers AGs. Public broadcasting will suffer as well. Just recently, a PBS broadcast that was going to be a documentary which was going to excoriate the Koch brothers got tabled by PBS because the Koch brothers said, y'all fuck with us, we will choke the chicken on the cash. You won't get a damn dime from us. And whenever we see public broadcasting, you got to realize it's being funded by somebody somewhere. Those dollars are our dollars. But when we see heavyweight dollars come in like that to bogart a situation, it doesn't bode well for humanity as it stands right now. because this is part of a eugenic matrix that is being played out live in living color right in front of all of us. And I don't want to go into a serious conspiracy bag, but when the shit is right in front of you, you can't see it. You can't help but say something, because this is the reality of the deal. The Kochs are not going to stop. They'll buy up the networks. Oh, sure, you'll get to see regular programming and all of that, but are you kidding? Don't ever think that you'll watch a primetime news program and see real news.
No, sir.
You know, everything will be Fox News, because everything will be slanted to editorialize instead of give you. It's not even about man bites dog or dog bites man. It's like, fuck the dog, fuck the man. Unless the man and the dog was fucking each other, we don't really want to hear about it. Just make some shit up, and that's what they're doing.
Yep. I got a worse one than that, Mike. Here in Virginia, Smith to a Ham. I'm sure you heard of that. Well, a Chinese company just bought it for $7.1 billion.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did. Because it's been said that the reason that they want to get the ham to bring it over to China. Really? Mm-hmm. Come on.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
Better watch what you eat when it comes to ham now.
Thank you. Eat some ham and hear a noise, meow.
Yep. Or eat a camel or crocodile. What they got over in China with those panda bears? I mean, serious, man. You think the food thing they did already about the food being contaminated with disease? You ain't seen nothing yet.
True.
Well,
I agree.
Well, we've seen some stuff that would make us shake our heads, but when somebody calls straight out for sterilization of the poor, this is where this eugenics trip is leading us. This just came out a couple of days ago, and whether somebody tried to put it off as some sort of spoof or whether it's a bona fide article, it's on a site called the Daily Current. Gina Reinhart, who is, I think, the second richest person in Australia, called for the sterilization of the poor, arguing that the only way to alleviate poverty is to stop the underclasses, quote, quote, from multiplying. This was in a video that was updated and uploaded to her YouTube account. Reinhardt, who is a mining heiress, so the bitch didn't even make her money. She was born into it. She's an heiress. The money was given to her, and she says income inequality is caused by differences in intelligence, and her words, eugenics is the only answer. Our nation faces a grave economic crisis as the combination of a strong Australian dollar and falling commodity prices sap our ability to compete globally. She's explaining that the only logical solution to this crisis is to strengthen the quality of our most precious resource, human capital. I believe that any couple making less than $100,000 a year should be forcibly sterilized through a vasectomy or fallopian tubal ligation. Those earning more than $100,000 a year should be encouraged to have as many as 10 or 12 children. Only by eliminating waste and focusing on our brightest, most efficient workers can we hope to see off our rivals in the emerging world. Now, let's not play like this woman is fucking crazy, because she really doesn't believe that she is. And let's not be cute about this. Andrew Carnegie didn't believe he was crazy either. And the Rockefellers didn't believe they were crazy when they started talking this shit as far back as the 1920s, when they put up the Center for Eugenics, which was changed after the war to the Human Genome Project. But when you hear some bitch like this with all this kind of clout and all this money say this, halfway around the world, and we see what's going on this side of the world where we have American untouchables, some who don't even realize they're untouchables now until that one check doesn't bounce or doesn't cash properly, and they plummet into a spiral of, I'm a have-not now instead of a have. When you see these things, gentlemen, Reggie, you first, what does this make you think?
Hey, Nazi, man, the Germans. I mean, that's what Hitler did with extermination. And matter of fact, in Maryland some years ago, in the prison camp, they stopped it. They wanted to do prisoners where they were cut half their brain off, just like One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest. Remember that movie?
Mm-hmm.
That was real.
Yep.
And I never forgot that. I think it was in the late 60s and 70s where they were actually looking at doing this to prisoners in Maryland. I lived in Baltimore, and by the grace of God, it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Patrick?
Man, something. Here's the sad part about it. in composite of what you said, there is somebody out there with money that's going to jump on this and say it's a good idea.
That's right. Yeah.
And be active about trying to make that happen. That's the sad part about it. Somebody's out there that like who's the guy that God, he owns the casinos in Las Vegas who was pissed at Carl Rove for what he spent on his money.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I forgot his name.
He put $10 million in the pot to get Obama's black ass out of office. Yes.
And here's what's worse. What's worse is the fact that here's a guy that spends that kind of money to get that kind of situation. How many jobs could he create with that kind of money?
Thank you.
To influence and help the economy. How many jobs, how many lives could he really have helped? Spending $10 billion that didn't work. That's the sad part about it. These guys wave the flags. They say everything. They say everything they can about Obama and his mama and his family. But if you spend that kind of money, what kind of American are you, or what are you?
Well, see, that's where the humanity is drawn out of this equation. Y'all think about this. At the end of the last show, as Professor Fred is now in the mix, I made the comparison between author J.K. Rowling in England and the former CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs. Now, J.K. Rowling started out in Great Britain's version of the projects. And because there was an apparatus there to help her, she had a platform in which she had time to write. And in doing so, she made the Harry Potter series of books into a multi-million-dollar business between movies and now theme parks and Disney World and all this other bullshit. She's got money over many times over. And when the question was put to her, why didn't she hide her money in the Cayman Islands or somewhere else, she said, look, Britain took care of me when I needed help. Now that I got it like that, it's worth me paying more taxes because my country showed that they love me, and I'm returning the love by making sure that they get whatever taxes I need to pay back. Now, some Americans used to think like that. But now we have an Australian woman out of her damn mind talking about sterilized, because we know when she says sterilized, she's talking about, first of all the Aboriginal brothers and sisters down there, and anybody else who's impoverished white or Southeast Asian. She's talking about that. Kill these motherfuckers. That's what she's saying. And I don't give a shit whether you say it with a smile or you say it politely or you don't use a 4-letter or a 12-letter profanity. That's the profanity. The fact that she's saying if you're making less than $100,000, you should be forcibly sterilized. Come in here, slit it, tie it up, whatever the hell it is. She didn't say you die, but she may as well be saying, we don't want you propagating. Because we know, as much as we say white's pure, we know from the genetic reality of things, white's recessive. And until everybody catches up to the game, we got to make it like it is pure and make sure that us, as those who have, are going to keep those truths away from those who have not for as long as possible. I didn't mean to get too long-winded, but Fred, you heard a little bit of this when you came in. Good evening, and please throw something in the pot.
What y'all talking about?
You know, Dr. Friend said.
This is I get the gist of what's going on, and we had a thing. Matter of fact, I actually personally know someone who I forget the actual term, but it's a form of genocide because it's where they go and sterilize people. In North Carolina, they did it under the guise of people who were, quote, slow, retarded, several other things.
What Reggie was talking about.
This young lady was really none of those, but they still sterilized her. She doesn't get paid because they can't find her paperwork. Well, they can't find paperwork on anybody in the whole clinic she went to. Wink, wink. Well, this is old stuff. This is stuff that the Germans did back in the day when they were using for excuses to rid of people they didn't want.
Exactly.
If you are a Jew, that means you're mentally deficient, et cetera, we get rid of you. If you're a gypsy, that means must be, we get rid of you. You black, we just gonna get rid of you anyway.
Especially Jew back then.
Among all, think about it. Among all the things that's never talked about, there was African troops in Europe during the time when they were being pursued. The French were being pursued towards Dunkirk. The French and English were being funneled towards Dunkirk. Well, one of the reasons that they didn't catch up to these guys at Dunkirk was there were some African troops that they were methodically eliminating. So you stop your troops while you get rid of the niggers. And in the process, they allowed the British to get their Armada over there and take out whoever they could get off the beach. And they talk about those troops who did the flanking stuff and held the line, but those are Africans that were wiped out. And so it's like I said, this is nothing new. This is an old song. I mean, this is something going all the way back. The only time blacks have truly done it, anything similar to this, was when they did it when we've done it to each other. But when you think about it, those folks, like this quote Australian lady, they don't. Not only is white recessive, white ain't pure. So what are they talking about?
Exactly. Yep. Patrick, throw something in the pot, brother.
Well, I got to run, guys, but I have to just say amen on that one because of the fact that like I said, the conversation started with Christy and Coke and this whole idea of how education is going to be, how they want to change it by any means necessary, and there are people out there who have that kind of mindset, and it's unfortunate, but it is, Guys, I got to run, but I'll get back with you.
Patrick. Patrick.
Huh?
Let's get together Saturday on my show Saturday.
Let me try to get back with you on that because I might be out filming on that day. That's why.
Okay.
But I'm going to follow the story because there is more happening. I don't know. The date is June 15th. We don't know if Herman will have that job or not. After what I found out today, the fact that they're even considering bringing, they're seriously. Let me repeat that. They're seriously considering bringing back Panetti because folks want to bring back Panetti, got the cash to make some stuff happen. And
man, I'm hearing. Patrick, I'm hearing the theme from Jaws in the background playing because there's lawyers circling around, licking their chops, just waiting to see what's going to happen next.
Please. And the sad part about it, when it happens, it's going to bring a further smear on the university, which a lot of people, good Rutgers people, are really unhappy about because, despite all this, it's a good university. The folk down there have a long established a great tradition for what they do, and it's unfortunate that you have a president who really doesn't understand what he's involved with, but he knows now.
I know that's right.
All right, guys, good talking with you. I'll be back with you.
Thank you, Patrick. We're looking forward
to
your updates on this. That's Patrick Farrar, everybody, family member from JCE TV, lending us much more insight on the whole deal down at Rutgers. And actually, Fred, before we change subjects, I threw this in the pot, and I'm waiting for your take on this because I truly believe that the video of Mike Rice and that punk-ass Marietti, whatever the hell his name is, from St. Joseph's, the son of the coach there, Martelli, that punk-ass Martelli doing what he did with those kids. You got video evidence of this. Some ambitious legal mind, one of those Rand Spear cats can go in there with a major league hammer, and throw down on Rutgers and make a case for these kids to have them be compensated in the punitive sense, as I think the term is in jurisprudence, for pain and suffering. Because from that video, I saw a lot of pain, and I definitely saw some mental suffering.
Well, you know, it's hard. I'm surprised that the lawyers, the most vulturous of the lawyers that are out there haven't circled their wagons and all this kind of stuff in the first place. Now, probably the holdup is to find out what is the NCAA's stand on this, simply because when they get paid, which they most certainly deserve, they're no longer, quote, amateurs. So, quote, they lose their amateur status based on the fact that they potentially can make money off of it.
Well,
but, you know, we've already discussed this, so we already know that the NCAA.
No, I know, but you know, that's a good point. But let's think about it this way: they weren't playing in a game. You know, it was a practice, not a game, practice. So, can we make the argument? Can we make the argument because it wasn't in a game situation, and because as they were practicing, it was a work situation, just like when the kid from Louisville broke his leg on national television in the game, can we make the case here that it was a workman's situation, that it was assault or harassment in the workplace? Because they weren't in calculus class when this shit was going on. They weren't in you know, ancient history. They were on their workplace. They were on the basketball court.
Making too much sense, Mike.
Well, from the perspective of as a worker, well, again, look at who you're dealing with now. The NCAA, to the NCAA, they are not working.
Right.
And see, you got a lot of, there's a lot of crazy law involved here already. And most of it revolves around the rules and regulations that the NCAA have set in place over the years, and you know what their terminology is. And you know the sad part of it is when it truly comes down to brass tacks with those guys, it's like he who has the gold rules, they're the ones with the gold. The rules are what they say they are. And you know, think about it. How many times have you heard of scumbags like these guys who perpetuated this situation?
Yes.
How many of them have you ever, you know, you got guys out there, and I forget this guy's name. He was at Clemson. Recruited my nephew and his first cousin had him basically set to go to Clemson. End up going, he gets fired, quote, fired from Clemson for some kind of NCAA violation. Clemson kept the 4 or 5 guys he had paid and all this other kind of stuff. And so anyway, he ends up moving out to Oklahoma State. Well, my nephew and his cousin went along with him to Oklahoma State. This guy has had numerous violations, just like this cat was at Carolina just a couple of years ago. Got gobs of violations, but the NCAA don't do nothing to him. As long as you move, and see, this is why I say, you know, these kids have to be being, and also remember, this is not based on, quote, federal law or any state law, because this is based on NCAA regulations. That's right. And see, because of that, and you know, the NCAA gets a smack on the hand when it comes to antitrust. It's like baseball.
That's right.
So you got all these things working for the NCAA because they're the, quote, governing body. So these young men and the young ladies, whoever else, who suffer through this nonsense, because it come to find out, I mean, didn't something come out about the new athletic director at Rutgers?
Yes.
having had letters written against her and some other kind of
That's
stuff.
That's right. When she was at the University of Louisville. That's exactly right. That's sexual harassment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what have you heard?
In Tennessee.
Now, tell in my best Perry Mason voice, tell me what kind of litigation has truly come against her. When it comes to the NCAA, what have they done to punish her?
Woo.
Nada.
I love it. Well, counselor, if I may sidebar, I want to punctuate what you just said, because we know the NCAA creates their own rules when they feel like it. And we know that we've heard some crazy shit that the NCAA has done in punishing people. But I just heard one that tops all of it. This just came out today, early this morning. Apparently, Portland University and the West Coast Conference, Portland University was hit with an NCAA violation as a women's golfer for the school, was hit with a violation for, get this, washing her car on campus.
What?
Y'all didn't hear me. I said a women's golfer was given an NCAA violation. The school there is because she washed her car on campus with the hose and water that wasn't for use by everyone in the school.
Come on, Mike.
No, this is real. I mean, this is real shit. And apparently,
it
was resolved. It was resolved. But it was resolved only because the NCAA supposedly through one of their reps asked the golfer to pay the school $20, which they said was the value of the water and the hose. Now, when something like this, I guess they figured it wasn't going to come out and see the light of day. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But when you see this, as we go back to the counselor's sidebar here, he's making the point. Yeah, this is a golden, the man who has the gold make the rules type situation, because they were going to punish a women's golfer. Now, I don't think that Portland University's women's golf team is generating gobs of money to the school's overall till. So, yeah, why not crack down on this young lady here and make her pay and sacrifice maybe a semester's worth of work because she washed her fucking car, as opposed to
Mike,
university making millions of dollars.
Somebody dropped the dime on her. How did she wash the car?
Well, there you go. Who knows? I mean, like, you know. Hey, you're not supposed to wash your car. You know, I mean, but yeah, it sounds kind of petty when you think about it, Reggie. But I mean, think about this, y'all. That they would want to watch. That they're watching someone wash their car with the school's water would constitute a violation, and that somebody would be ordered enough to watch and make the ruling against it is what really bothers me. Reggie's on something here, counselor.
Yeah,
I mean, he's on to something, but then, but it goes back to my point. What are the rules of the NCAA? Who knows?
There ain't none.
Because see, when you think about, again, all the quote unquote violations and all this, I mean, there's just so many things about the NCAA that's so ass backwards that it's really, I mean, it's hard to tell which way is up. You don't know from one day to the next, and you see stuff. How is it? And I go way back. Clyde Austin played for played for NC State. His girlfriend is working as a bank teller. She was never accused of stealing money or embezzling and that kind of stuff. But homegirl is riding in a fat car.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
it was a Cadillac. I remember. I saw it.
And see, bring it forward a little bit. Rasheed Wallace, mother gets a $60,000 a year job. The woman, to the best of my knowledge, may not have ever finished high school, and she gets a $60,000 job. And they talk about the Clean Carolina program, but Kenny Williams, who you will probably remember, who played for the Indiana Pacers for a number of years, 6'11", between 6'9" and 6'11", about 235, 240. Could your mother Jim could barely read his own name. One, he was kept away from people at Elizabeth City who were trying to help him with his, take some classes here on campus and stuff. The only person who didn't know he was going to graduate was Dean Smith. In North Carolina, you're required to have 16 credits to graduate. He has 11. He's passing 2. Now, and he's only taken 4. Ain't no way under the sun he going to graduate.
Hello. It's a heavy credit.
The only ones who didn't know he wasn't going to graduate, only one who didn't know he was not going to graduate was Dean Smith and the Carolina people. Until the last minute when it really hit the fan, all of a sudden they backed away from him. But see, these are the kinds of things. Again, and how many times have we had the kill put on anybody?
Exactly.
We did it at SMU. I think that once or twice since then.
Yeah.
But when you see a kid in today's environment, now forget when me and Reggie and you were in school, you get a car for $3,000 or $4,000 and have a nice car. But they don't even bother with that no more. These kids are showing up with Range Rovers and all these other kind of stuff, and their mom and daddy live in the project. Come on. And we're talking about NCAA rules.
Yeah. You say the movie Blue Chips?
The program.
It's true. It's true.
And
in the program, ironically, when you said the program, when the coach and the administrator had their little moment, the coach said straight out, ain't nobody coming here to see somebody read a history book. 80,000 people in that stadium ain't coming here to see calculus performed on midfield. Shut the fuck up. I know what time it really is. And that really is the essence of all of this. But I want to go back to Reggie's point because
I agree with all that because, I tell presidents and chancellors every chance I get, athletes don't deserve certain things. I agree. They're students and they're athletes. And they're that by choice, pretty much. But at the same time, though, some of them vindictive bastards that some of us had to face in the classroom. Fortunately, being a political science major, I knew what the rules of the school were because we were forced to read the rules and know what they were because our advisors told us, hey, as political science majors, you should either run things or run those who run things. And one of the first things where you're going to do it is you got to, I had my student handbook until my son and daughter were like 4 or 5 years old and decided to, use it for writing practice or whatever they did. So, that was more than a decade after, at least a decade after I graduated. And so, but see, just like so many other things, okay, this young lady, thinks she probably thought what she did, and I personally think it was something really innocent. What she did, that's too stupid. That's macromanaging small things and letting big things go because you can't tell me that all of them, just like they cracked down on Carolina, well, if they went out and looked at all, or maybe 2/3, well, let's be generous, half of the BCS programs have done that or worse. Like I say, think about why is it that football players at these schools have their own dorm?
Exactly.
Why do basketball players have their own set of apartments? Jeff Capel stayed in an apartment when he was at Duke. Yeah. That was, and don't get me wrong, Jeff's family loaded. I mean, his grandfather is a millionaire many times over.
But the other element of that, but Fred, the other element that you mentioned makes sense because let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago when I forget who that big kid was from NC State, Chris Washburn came into the league, could barely write his damn name, but you didn't know that by NC State. Dexter Manley supposedly graduated from Oklahoma State. And nobody found out until he got to the CFL, to the Canadian Football League, and playing up there, that he couldn't read. I mean, there's a reason why you isolate. And it's not always because you want to be alone. You want to hide shit is more closer to the truth, especially when if homeboy couldn't rush the passer and sack him, he'd be pumping gas if he could spell the word gas. So,
right.
unfortunately,
but Mike, I got you, Mike. But I want to throw this at you. Okay, real quick. Let's go to the situation. She's about hard and stuff. Okay, Notre Dame and the quarterback. I know Dr. Witt gonna get into this real hard. But my whole thing, getting back to Rutgers kid, how many of those young men stood there and defended the coach? Now we talking about a lawsuit. I mean, again, they could say, well, I took care of your mom, I took care of this and that, and they could come back on and say, the little special gifts we gave you, you better keep your mouth shut if you want to go ahead and make another move. But we could blackball you not only to go to college, but also we could blackball you and get into the NBA. So, guys, can you help me out with that?
That's good speculating, Reggie, because I think there's a lot of meat in that sandwich. But I would say even on top of that, the film would trump any threat that they would ever impose on me. If I'm one of them kids that got hit with that ball, first of all, if I was one, it probably would be a different story because I'd have been all over that little punk ass. But for each of those kids that got hit, for each kid that got pushed around or kicked or called a faggot or a nigger, whatever the hell he was saying on those tapes, that evidence from all my years in the business covering sports, one truism is tape don't lie. And that tape sure as shit ain't lying about what the hell happened. So you can threaten me all you want. If you remember, Robbie Benson was in this movie.
Oh, Indiana.
Where he got punked out by the coach. He was he was politically at Schitt's Creek. And then when fortunes turned around and it turned in his favor, and the coach said, "I want you to come back and play winning basketball for me," and he looked at the coach and said, "Right up your ass with a red hot poker. I can play whoever I want." That's the kind of situation this is more smelling like to me. This is more smelling like to me that, okay, I got the video proof. You try to screw me, and I'm going to do a Nino Brown because I'm going to tell everybody what's going on. I got a name list here, and I got the video to prove it. So you weigh all these factors together, and including what you said here. And the next question really is why? Why hasn't one or more of these young men gone that route and sued them for something that was obviously egregious, obviously illegal, and because, again, they're not getting paid? In my humble, a salient argument could probably be made for a workplace situation where it's harassment in the workplace, and these kids would be entitled to being under the aegis of the whistleblower law. Am I making sense?
You're making sense. Unfortunately, we're back to the whole mentality of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Those, quote, and I quote, "Those boys just playing a game."
Yeah.
Now, and see, again, maybe I missed it because I don't watch a lot of TV.
Mm-hmm.
My TV hasn't been on in my house in over a month. And so maybe I missed it somewhere. Where is the NCAA on all this?
Ooh, hello.
Yeah, nowhere to be found.
Have we heard anything
from
them?
Boo. That's right, Fred. Mm-hmm.
They ain't said nothing.
And, and with that in mind.
Yeah.
Fred, go ahead. Oh, Fred popped out. Okay. Fred popped back in when you get a chance, so he can fill the sentence when he gets back. But as he said that, Reggie, I just realized one reason why the NCAA may not be saying nothing is because the Paterno family is trying to sue their asses over what happened at Penn State.
And former players, too, Franco Harris and the rest of them.
That's right. So now some of the acolytes, like Franco Harris, like you said, and some other lackeys who were sucking Paterno's jock, now want to supposedly clear his name. So they're going to take action against the school, or rather against the NCAA, because, the NCAA imposed the penalties and all of that, and frankly didn't do nearly as much as they should have. But as we caught Fred in mid-sentence, Fred, please complete your sentence as you come back in.
Well, no, my whole thing has been all along, where is the NCAA for all this? They should have been down there, as in legal terminology, forthwith, like Yes did it. Because, think about it, these kids were being beaten. I mean, literally. If I hit you with a ball, there's kids been put out of school for less than that.
That's right.
So, again, where is the NC2A? And, you know, I personally have lost any semblance of respect for the NCAA a long time ago. So, I mean, this is nothing new.
Right.
Unfortunately, you know, I don't know what kind of silver tongues the representative of Rutgers have or whoever, because, I mean, by now, you know, the semester is, I mean, that was what, February?
Yep.
March at the latest?
Yep.
Yeah, during basketball season.
And now we're where? You know, we got one more.
We're almost in June. 4 months down the road. And while you were gone, Fred, we mentioned Paterno and his family suing the NCAA in the midst of all of that. So that might have been part of the reason for their silence and inactivity in the mix of all of this, because if their case has any merit, if he can get any kind of a scintilla of credibility out of this, NCAA is up shit's creek. With all these leagues forming, they know that these super leagues won't need the NCAA. They can just go BCS and do their own thing and cut the NCAA out altogether.
But my thing is the Big Ten. Rutgers trying to go to the Big Ten, and like Catch Rock talking about that money flowing around. NCAA got those big TV deals going on. They don't want to upset that apple cart, especially if the Rutgers trying to make a move to the Big Ten. And I'm wondering, my girl Vivian Springer, where is she going to end up in all this?
Oh, Viv is cool. Mm-hmm. Viv is going to be okay simply because she's Viv. You know, she's at an age now she could actually retire quite well off.
That's right. That's right.
And several other things in her favor. And you know, because I know there was a time when they were trying to mess with her because she can be kind of on the vicious side sometimes. Mm-hmm. But then when you get to, you know, but she never, you know, there was never any accusations of anything like this. And having talked to a young lady who once played for her, she said, well, she's like so many other of the good black coaches that she was aware of, and that was, whereas you got that really outwardly the vicious side, you know, she said, well, you know, we always knew if the chips were down, Viv was coming to help us. Viv, she said, you know, you don't know how many of these girls have cried on Viv's shoulders at night for whatever reason. And, you know, Pat Bibbs, who's now back at Grambling, that's how she is. I mean, she now playing wise, hey, she will dog you.
Yep.
Because she wants every ounce of everything you got. I mean, that was Bobby Knight. You know, Bobby Knight's greatest fear was some player with more potential than he had was going to underperform. That was the only thing wrong with Bobby Knight.
True.
And the way he overreacted sometimes, that kind of stuff, yeah. But you go back and look at the fact that, you know, he never hung up the banner from 76, I think it was, because Bobby Wilkerson never went back and finished.
That's right, the undefeated team.
You know, and that's how he rolled. And, you know, Scott, the dad of that punk that played at Carolina. But anyway.
But hold on here, gentlemen, because I want to bring this up, because if we've talked about the money trail, we know that for some the money trail will lead from the colleges to the pros if they're lucky, and that may in some cases be where the problems start, because Geno Smith, who has already had a whole heap of drama that wasn't of his making, is now going to be part of more drama as this thing unfolds. From not getting chosen in the first round to then being selected by the New York Jets and having to deal with the New York media and a scurrilous swamp sow by the name of Stephen A. Smith. Then we find out that Smith, who fires his agent, something more players need to do, because if you can't handle my affairs as best as you see fit in the same manner that you just talked about how Vivian Stringer wanted the most out of her players, Fred, then yeah, you should. You work for me, so you better be on your damn game. And if you ain't, I'm gonna get somebody who is. So now Geno goes and gets Jay-Z, whether directly or indirectly, and now all of a sudden those phony baloney Blazing Saddles harumps you hear are the NFL owners like, hump. We can't let this nigga come in and get all this money, because if Geno Smith signs with Jay-Z,
oh my God, can you see
I'm sure we might have been privy to a similar 47% conversation in the NCAA, in the NBA offices when LeBron James and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade decided to do their own thing. They were fearful then, and they're just as fearful now because Jay-Z doesn't need the NFL. He sold his interest in the New Jersey Nets, or the Brooklyn Nets, to even come to the table because he knew there was a bigger fish to fry here. And now as we say all of that, is there a fear, I'll start with you, Reggie, that they will attack Jay-Z and co-opt him like they eventually did Tank Black, who was a black sports agent who was becoming more of a power broker because of the stable of talent that he had. And I got to move on to you with that one first, Fred, because Reggie just got bopped out. So please jump on that if you would.
Well, again, old song. White folks got control issues. They want this. This is like going back to Ray Charles, Curtis Mayfield, and a couple of other folks. Mm-hmm. Remember, the last thing they wanted was Negroes to be in control of their own catalogs.
Yep.
And because of that, they did everything under the sun possible that they could to keep black folks from being corrected, Negroes from being in charge of their own catalogs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I forget what movie it was. There was something said to the tone of, "Oh, you don't need to be bothered with that. You just need to be making music."
Oh, that was 5 Heartbeats, if I remember right. Mm-hmm.
And but see, and to show you how bad the game was at the time, and fortunately, as big a bunch of jerks as a lot of these young people are now, at least somebody has talked to them enough that they started getting ownership and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Because, they used to get screwed out of Vaseline and were expected to like it.
That's true.
I remember some years ago when rap was really just getting rolling good, and there was this group of young men came to my hometown to perform, and they got a little rambunctious and they were picked up by this limousine service, and they got a little rambunctious, and they ripped the thing up. Well, as the legal side took over, come to find out, these little boys barely own their own voices. Forget anything else. They were purely talent. They didn't own nothing.
Nothing.
And see, basic stuff like that. These guys were just out on a limb, and the limb was being cut off right underneath them, and they didn't know it.
Yeah,
they would just know it. And
that's scary.
Somebody like, if you understand, if you know a little bit about Jay-Z's story, that's how he made it. Really, was owning his own stuff, selling his own stuff out of the trunk of his car.
That's right. Literally selling it out of the back of his car. Reggie, as you got back into the mix here, as I was saying, we know Tank Black was a former agent. He was building up an impressive roster of NFL players, but got involved in something. The NFL went after him, and they took his license away. Ended up doing time. Jay-Z could well be Tank Black 2.0 because, again, he doesn't need the NFL's money. He's got his money several times over. And he sold his interest in the Brooklyn Nets to get in the mix in this. So clearly, like any good businessman, he sees the big picture and whatnot, and he realizes with what they have to offer offside of being on the gridiron, they have the potential to attract a clientele that any of these traditional so-called super agents can't attract.
Well, see, that's my thing, Mike, and Dr. Witt. I kind of want you backing up on this. A lot of young guys want to be close to entertainment anyway. I mean, unfortunately, you see the entourage, you see them part and everything. I mean, you can be hanging out with Jay-Z and Beyonce. And matter of fact, that side-ass bastard that popped Beyonce on the butt he should have been arrested. But I mean, she took a high road. But you know, it is what it is. But I'm just saying again, what better way to have the young athletes come out, hook up with Jay-Z? You got your stable together. You can use their money from the NFL in order to get basically for him to go ahead and start economics back in their hometown. Not making any sense.
Well, I'll take that point and I'll take it a step further, Reggie. What's to say that Jay-Z, instead of them trying to create him into being another Tank Black, becomes their version of Jerry Maguire? What if Jay-Z becomes so on point with his job that he shows some of these young knuckleheads how to make their money, how to invest their money? As Bill Cosby used to say, how to literally learn to sign their own checks. Because to the point, hey, I'm Jay-Z. I already made mine, y'all. You know? So I ain't going to steal from you. You'd be a pain in the ass to me if I was trying to take your money, especially when I got my own. So let me show you what to do with what you got, and you can keep your own or keep as much of it as possible. That's, I think, what the big fear is, Fred and Reggie, that this brother is going to come in here and scare the bejesus out of them because, remember, there have always been a handful of agents over the years who have controlled the league. Lee Steinberg, anytime Lee Steinberg's name was mentioned, he was standing next to a quarterback because he made sure he had the lion's share of all the major quarterback talent signed in the NFL before they even took to the field. David Falk, we know what happened with David Falk, Jordan, Barkley, all these other cats, they were in his stable. But when LeBron came on, LeBron changed the script, and people realized LeBron was going to be more of a threat off the court than he was on the court because of his business acumen. Now, they don't want to admit that this brother's smart like that, but they realized it because they literally put the NBA on his shoulders and say, keep us viable. You know, we're going to market millions of dollars through you. And that's exactly what they did. Kobe couldn't do that. Even as talented as Kobe was, Kobe didn't have the charisma for that. Kevin Garnett didn't have it because even as talented as Kevin Garnett was, and in the prime of his career, he was up in Minneapolis somewhere, where Prince had more viability than the Minnesota Wild. So here's LeBron right in the middle of the Rust Belt, making all this money for the league and holding up that whole conference because everybody in Indianapolis and Detroit and Milwaukee and everywhere in that area that was a lot more financially depressed than most other parts of the country, they were spending their hard-earned money to see LeBron James, the king, come to Cleveland and play his Cavaliers. And when he left and that homeboy had his premium saltine moment and lost his mind, how dare that nigga leave my plantation? You know, they realized it was because LeBron was ahead of everybody in the game. Whether the Heat wins or not is not as important as the fact that they can't take any more dollars from LeBron than LeBron is willing to give. Like you said, Fred, he has control over his situation, and that control is what's working the nerves of these folks in the NFL hierarchy, I believe, regarding Jay-Z.
Well, think about it. Jay-Z came up the hard way, but he learned all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, you have people out there who not only fear him. I mean, it's not beyond their reach to try to set him up in somewhere. Because I mean, like I said, it's nothing new. This is how the game is played. You and see, the good old boy network say we can get all we want among ourselves. But if you, as an outsider Negro, try to come through the door and be with us, you know, we're going to relegate you like we used to do the poor white trash.
There you go.
You ain't never going to be up here with us, no matter how much you make, how much you think you got. You know, that's new money. And see, those are the things. You know, I have considerable respect for Jay-Z and several other rappers and so forth out there who seemingly have learned on their way up. Now, there are some out there I have no faith in whatsoever.
Right.
I wouldn't trust. Wouldn't walk across the street, spit on the behind if they were on fire. But then when you look, it's like some people that I've known over the years. I mean, you can't argue with their success, and because you can't argue with their success, you got to respect the fact that agree or disagree, their success is there. I mean, they have. That's right. They got the true grit out there in living color that tells you, hey, we can make this work. I'm working on some stuff now that I want to be at the same spot within the next year, and I know what it takes to get there. We as a people are not getting there, and part of the reason we are not getting there is we will sit back and criticize Jay-Z because he spent all that money on his mouth with all that gold and stuff, which is okay. But whose money did he spend getting that gold?
There you go. Let's not forget that he made it. He can do with it whatever he wants, and because he made it, and especially when we hear about more and more professional athletes going broke in X number of years after they retire and those cleats are hung up or their jerseys hung up, we know football has the worst flooring or foundation for these guys to maintain, that they can fall through as easily as one hit the wrong time, on the wrong place, on the wrong day, and their future, whatever finances they had, can get wiped out in medical costs. I mean, that's the reality. And here you have somebody coming in who can offer them a safety net of, hey, think about this for yourself, instead of thinking that if you're making $1 million a year, you better cut it in half because Uncle Sam is getting his cut. And of that $500,000 you got left, you buy that house for Big Mama, you got $200 of that left. So as we see, it's all a game and it's all image and fluff. When all of that's put in front as the so-called lifestyle, the image of, etc. And by all means, be careful between your girlfriend and your mistress because they'll take whatever's left. So understanding all of these balances, you realize there's more going on than just getting out there on that field. And somebody who has at least been through that, and when they speak to you, it will feel like real talk because it is real talk. That's somebody who I would likely trust a lot more than someone who would tell me, you got to think like a white man, or let's discuss this over golf, or whatever. Because even though those are business tactics, the bottom line is, if you run out of money or if you have that injury, they don't give a rat's ass about you. Your black ass is toast. So you may as well consider the big picture.
But, Mike, again, if Jay-Z can just pull just 5 or 10% of those new athletes coming in, and they could be entrepreneurs, then they could go ahead and guess what? Affect the criminal justice system. Because, again, people think I'm just shooting on my mouth. How many times we see in the block, so-and-so athlete was arrested for assault and battery. So-and-so athlete was arrested for being drunk in public. If you just get 5 or 10% of these guys just get their money together and they get back like a Sugar Ray Robinson back in the day, as Dr. Wick is backing up on this, who owned Harlem back in the day, just 5% of these athletes will come back into the community and start owning businesses and start employing people. Oh, my God, you tell me economically how that could change things around over a period of time?
But what you have to understand, before you answer, Fred, what you have to understand is the significance of who Jay-Z chose as his first client, or that he was able to secure as his first client. Geno Smith was a quarterback, and he's a second-round draft choice. So, as we know, next year, guess who's coming to dinner, y'all? Teddy Bridgewater's coming. There are 4 or 5 black quarterbacks who got big-time game who are stepping up. And the Lee Steinbergs of the world realize they're not going to have that first crack at the apple at a Teddy Bridgewater, especially if Geno Smith sends Teddy a little text, because remember, they weren't playing too far away from each other in West Virginia and Louisville. And if Gino says, hey, look at here, Jay-Z's doing all right by me, taking care. Why don't you holler up at a brother? In casual conversation, there's no NCAA violation there, implied or otherwise. Just a couple of brothers hanging out. Jay-Z don't even have to be in the room so that they can't say it was an effort by so-and-so to solicit, or, even in a roundabout way. So you get somebody else into the mix. And the next thing you know, there are impactful athletes, not just guys who got drafted late and came on and made a name for themselves, but immediate first-round, second-round athletes. That's immediate big bonus money. And just like they always complain about dealing with people like Drew Rosenhaus and Scott Boras, if they've got Jay-Z to deal with now, some of these front offices are going to have problems. The same office of the front office of the team that asked a certain player if his mama was a hoe is going to be kind of uncomfortable if Jay-Z was going to sit there in front of his first-round talent and Jay-Z's going to tell them, is your mama a hoe? Because if she is, then she better crank up some of that cash, because this is what I want from my first-round selectees bonus money. So you may either have her working overtime out in the streets, or if she's not a hoe, then you better treat my client with respect and pay him what the market allows. So there are a whole lot of things in this Jay-Z thing that go way beyond just him handling Geno Smith. And I think that we've worn this out well enough. Fred, let me get some last licks on you before we switch topics.
Well, you pretty well said it. Jay-Z is a threat because Jay-Z is an outsider with some sense. He's not your typical wannabe agent. He's not your typical struggling agent who can be bought off. He knows the rules of the game and knows how to change the rules to change the rules in his favor, and he can do that. So I'm interested to see just where he's able to go with all this. We've seen the other way. Where all these young guys, because I have a situation where a young man that I used to watch across the fence, he's signed with, he's in the Dallas camp right now, and one thing that I told him to do was get in touch with a young man who went to Winston-Salem State, and I was talking to his uncle. He said, "Well, why?" I said, "Because here's a young man who went down there. Timmy was a late round draft choice, but Timmy is not your average, was by no means your average football player or college student. He was actually in line to become an officer in the military had he not made it in the NFL. Wow. So, and he was with a group of guys who went to Winston-Salem State. We talk about Bill Hayes, boys going to graduate and all that kind of stuff. Well, had a couple of them decided to stay in the military, they would be generals now. So you tend to graduate if you become a general. We want to get into the job he's doing now for us, but I think Jay-Z's going to really upset the apple cart for, if he can do it with the NFL, the NBA is inevitable. And all the shyster moves that they've been doing on okey-doke they've been doing on some of these young guys, I can't say will totally stop, but at least it should change. Be able to change at least some of it in their favor. Exactly. And that's what they need, because they've been getting screwed.
Exactly. Reggie, give me a last lick on that, and then we're going to change subjects to golf, brother. So throw something in the pot in this last lick.
Yeah, well, just real quick, look at the significance. We hear about the Willie Lynch letter. If you start seeing more young black men hook up with Jay-Z and then come back to that community and start uplifting them, this is the thing that we all have been asking about. Finally, you can have sports as our recipe for bringing economics back to certain areas. be it D.C., be it North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, Mississippi. I mean, again, young people are going to see this, and maybe over a period of time it'll change some of the mindset. Not going to change all, might change some of the mindset about people working together.
It will definitely make a big difference. We're going to see if they realize that the water is just as good on the black side as it is on the white side, as Fred likes to say. But as for right now, I'm going to talk to a different kind of water, because I don't know how many golf movies you brothers have ever seen, but one movie that I did see was Tin Cup, starring Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all know there's that scene where they play that weird hole, the 17th hole. I forget, it's the TP Championship hole, where you got to hit it something like 180 yards or some shit like that, and if you don't hit it just right, the ball is going to go in the water. Well, we saw Kevin Costner's character in that movie try the shot, hit it, it rolled off. And he could have taken a penalty and moved on because he was ahead. But he kept trying the shot over and over and over until he lost the lead, lost all of that, but he finally got on the green like he wanted. We saw something kind of sort of like that play out in the recent championship between Tiger Woods and Sergio Garcia. Now, normally I'd give a rat's what about Tiger, but this is important because now they're starting to pay attention to Tiger. How do I know they're starting to pay attention to Tiger? Because they made Sergio apologize to Tiger, and I will encapsulate it. Obviously, Tiger won that tournament, and in the clubhouse, he was very happy, and I guess that what they got on camera was as close as he was going to say to him, yeah, I kicked that motherfucker's ass. But Sergio, in doing his best Kevin Costner imitation and missing that hole in the ball going into the drink over and over again, when asked about after the fact, made a joke about Tiger and fried chicken being served. Now, it wouldn't be the first time. We know Fuzzy Zell already said that bullshit about fried chicken and collard greens at the Masters and all of that. So that wasn't what got us. What got me was one of these sponsors that Sergio Garcia was connected with, Adidas, forcing Sergio to make a public statement apologizing to Tiger for saying something to him. Now, if this was the Tiger we knew from got his ass whipped with his wife swinging a club on his ass because he got busted fucking on those white women, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But now Tiger looks like he got some growl going on, Reggie, and that Adidas made Garcia apologize. Sounds like jock sniffing to me.
Well, first of all, Sergio did that interview over in London, and I really believe that his dumb ass didn't think that remarks were going to get back to the States. Because you notice he did it overseas, and also he was with people who he felt comfortable with, and light-skinned Spaniards and Sergio think that they're European anyway. So they look down on people with dark skin.
Yes, they do. Spanish fans in soccer are very virulent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like over Australia, how they look down on the African descent down there. But the thing that really upsets me is that Tiger Woods, man, he going to stand here and put his arms in so many ways around Sergio as to kind of brush it off. But I remember the first commercial Tiger Woods did was that, hey, because of my color of my skin, they would not allow me on the golf course. And then he goes open and does his cabination BS. You know, again, Tiger, hey, you can spend your money any kind of way you want to. If you say your cabination, okay, fine. Every time your black ass go on that golf course, buddy, if the media doesn't let you know, the fans don't know who whistle and holler at you, they let you know that as long as you got the unforbidden fruit, which is the white woman, your black ass is going to be on notice.
Now, that's intriguing. Now, Fred, what do you think made Adidas put the foot up Sergio's ass to apologize?
Tiger sells Nike, right?
Yep.
Well, golf is on a shoestring.
He's
hanging by a thread just that week right now. And if Tiger ain't there, you ain't gonna sell no Adidas, you ain't gonna sell no Nike.
That's
that
true.
Plain, just that simple. So,
that's true.
you know, and there are some colored folks out there who buy this stuff. believe it or not.
Yeah.
So when the market share is so close and so thin between 1 and 10 or whoever's out there with this stuff, you don't, we've already seen you don't upset the niggas. And because of that, you don't say stuff like that. You try to maintain your cool, calm, and collect kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, then when you look at the big picture, we all gonna make some money. Remember, unless they've changed, Adidas and Puma and somebody else still in the bed together, right?
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So if the money starts going away from us, where's it going? And see, those kinds of things all come into play. Go ahead.
Right, but Doc, help me with this. Okay, you remember again when Tiger was playing golf and the Golf Channel female made a comment, "How do you stop Tiger Woods from winning? You need to go ahead and put a noose around the neck and hang him." And once again, here's Tiger with the pearly white teeth. "Oh, I know her, and she's okay. Don't take offense to that." All right, let's flip the script. If that had been Tiger Woods made a comment and spent a comment about a Jewish golfer, Dr. Witt, what would have happened?
Well, understand Tiger's position. He got to be out there in the woods with these fools. I used to coach. I used to be an assistant cross country coach, and we used to do this thing called Walking the Trail. And we were out at Methodist College Trail, and these nights. And see, Methodist College's cross country trail is actually they were actually building a golf course back there. They got one of the few actually golf management programs in the nation. Plus, and all that, having all that. I'm going out there and I'm walking this thing and I'm like, oh, you got all these nice spots out there and all this kind of stuff. But also, have been involved in some other things. I know there's a lot of sniper positions out there too. And you think about it. We all played back in the day with these white boys who were very prejudiced, but you had to be on the team with them. Now you can do certain things, and so but then at a certain point, you sort of look the other way or whatever you want to call it on the what you get. You find a way to tolerate them, I guess is the best way to put it. And when you do that, you overlook a lot of stupidity. Sometimes it's not even worth your time to address the issue you have with them because they're morons to begin with. So you come across eloquent. And what do you truly accomplish? Nothing. Because they're still idiots. And so he's in that position, and some people get in. Even you've seen like a good case in point. We've all been talking about how the president should pimp slap some folks. What will he done? He still cannot afford to be the angry Negro. Tiger can't afford to be the angry Negro either. And like I said, there's some people like that I would love to see him pimp slap. I would just love to see if he got anything off his mama. Because she's Oriental, and just drop him. But he can't. But like I said, he can't afford to do that.
You talk about a Negro moment. All that Kabbalah Asian's gone if somebody say something about his mama. That's when shit kick in. But as we are coming in the home stretch of all of this, I want to bring everything down to reality here because we've been on this whole thing with the president since the re-election. And it is time to really ask honest questions as to whether or not time has already run out for this current administration. Because we've seen the time stall its ass by as it's crawled through this year. Deliberate things that would be common sense no matter who else would think one way or another about a party's affiliation or or philosophy. You know, infrastructure. We see bridges falling all down around us. Get a damn jobs bill out there to get people working. Nothing's going on. You know, the Affordable Care Act, 38 times attempt to repeal, or at a cost of over $71 million of our tax money being fucking wasted. We've got sequestration going on, where jobs are losing. In your hometown, in your area down there, Fred and Fort Bragg, apparently they just laid off teachers and stuff. You know, as part of these cuts here and stuff. So all this shit's going on, and it ain't going to get fixed no time soon. And in spite of the jobs, in spite of the Dow Jones and everything else, stocks going up, money's being made. We ain't getting our hands on it, but money's being made. By the time 2014 rolls around and all these elections are in effect, there will be such a huge gap between have and have not. You're going to have to ask, honestly, will it matter? Because even if everybody gets in that ideally we want to have in 2014, and they have even a 70-30 advantage in the Senate, because they got all the Dick Dastardly SOBs out of there, will it really matter? Because that remaining faction of diehard assholes will still be able to stall to such a degree that really by 2014, the prez is going to be a lame duck, and they're just going to go right in his face and go quack, quack, and there won't be a thing that he can do. He won't even be able to duck slap, let alone pimp slap some of these guys, because so much time will have been gone, and we know by that time Hillary will already be in full guns if she's going to go. Whoever else is going to be a wannabe Democratic candidate, they're going to go. We already know that little shit Chris Christie, well, not little, but we already know he's going to go. And who knows if Jeb Bush is not going to throw his hat in the ring along with some other nut job like maybe Cruz down there in Texas or Rubio in Florida or wherever else, because you can't have a good Sunday without some nuts sprinkled on top. But having said all of that, has time really run out for the Obama administration, Fred?
Hopefully there's still a little time left. I truly think there is. Strategically, the Democrats really are in a good position to do a lot of damage. Now, whether they will or not, I defer to something Reggie always talks about, and that's how big of punks they have tended to be. And I think D.L. Hughley also talks about how the Democrats are more about fighting, and the Republicans are more about winning.
Exactly.
Amen.
And
Amen.
But what you got to consider now, Christie may be tarnishing himself right now. He's not playing, with the president anyway, so that could end up hurting him. And when you consider now that he is one of the better candidates that's going to come out of this bunch, Silly Sarah is still out there, and all these other Sunday decorations are out there. So because the whole political arena right now is truly scary to me. Yeah. Not that I fear anything per se. It's just that when you think about the worst of the worst keep getting pushed towards the front.
Yep.
And
we didn't talk about Rand Paul. Throw him in there too. Sorry.
Oh, like I said, what did I just say? The worst of the worst keep getting pushed to the front. He reminds me. There's a gentleman here. There's a brother here who is the only person I know that his alma mater and the Muslims have basically put out a quarantine on, or what's the term? They put out a notice that they ain't got nothing to do with this fool. And I told him to his face, I said, listen, the Muslims don't. The Islam world doesn't even deny the Taliban, but they deny you.
Exactly.
And so he runs every year. He comes up with money. I know enough about politics to know these signs ain't cheap. But he has new signs every time he runs, and he runs every time. So, you know, there are people out there who will support anybody for anything, seemingly. But, you know, back to your question, though, I think there's still time. The Democrats are going to have to come out with a strategy that is a winning strategy. Not in this little, you know, come by, y'all, let's get along with everybody. No, let's come out here, kick ass, and then not worry about taking names.
Exactly. Reggie, same question to you. We already know that the Democrats got too much bitch in them to maybe man up and flex like they should the way Bush did when he went straight up on them. But does the president, in your opinion, have enough time, or frankly, are the Democrats too big pussies enough to even invoke any of the actions that may come out of fruit from the 2014 election?
They're a bunch of bitches, and I can back it up. But if you look at right now, I don't think Hillary's going to run, and if Hillary's not running, we know Biden can't win the nomination. Come on, let's be real. I mean, you have, I think, O'Malley from Maryland who wants to throw his hats in. You had a governor up in New York who wants to throw his hats in. But Democrats on a national level do a poor job of developing their bench as far as bringing young people and upstanding. I mean, President Obama came in. That was a monkey wrench, man. They're like, who's this little nigger think he's coming in here and upset the crown jewel of the Clintons? How dare you? And here in the state of Virginia, Governor McDonald just recently signed a bill that to restore voting rights to felons. And you know what Democrats say there to say? Well, he's showing us up. Rather than sit back, and then, of course, you had the photo op. And also, Ben Jealous now. Ben Jealous came down to Richmond, Virginia yesterday for the big photo op. He came down there. And also with the NAACP, the new president, who has been out here raising money for the longest time, I think 50 years, the NAACP are finally in the black. But yet, this guy's raising money, but he does not take on any significant fight, as Julian Bond did back in the day. As long as you have a press conference with your people to put money in your pocket, he's cool. But he didn't stand up for anything. I mean, he'll smile and wave, but won't stand up. So I'm sorry, guys, but a lot of black people see President Obama as a symbol. Oh, we got a black president. But symbols do not make laws, symbols do not pay the bills, and symbols do not go to the Justice Department when you see the injustice going on as Trayvon Martin King.
I'm glad you said that, Reggie, because that is very significant. More and more black people are seeing him as a symbol. It's like, look, we don't give a shit that you're black. It's like shit ain't getting done. And even though, you know, he has made efforts and stuff like that, and we know he's getting cock-blocked, you know, we saw Bush Jr. flex. He said, I'm the president, bitch. I'm doing this. Y'all kiss my white ass. And he did it. We need that kind of Dolomite moment from the president. But if he don't even acknowledge Dolomite exists, we're not going to get it. And apparently nobody in the House or the Senate ain't got the jam to tell him who Dolomite is either. So all of these things combined make me concerned that time might be running out. And Fred, as our resident Republican, Fred speaks truth here. If he sees there's a window, I believe him. But we got to wonder if, as D.L. Hughley stated in Fred's quote, the Republicans are about winning, are the Democrats ever going to be about winning? And I think that's a good place to leave it as we slide into last licks here. As I just caught the last end of what seems to be the end of the game in Miami. Miami is held serve. We didn't get a chance to bring up so quickly, guys. Can Miami make it with a subpar Dwayne Wade? Because we know they really want, and when I say they, I mean the collective mainstream media, they would love to see LeBron fail because it's a bigger story to them to boost up the failure than to deal with his immediate success in winning and then moving on to the championship round against San Antonio. First, you, Reggie.
Well, first of all, they want LeBron and the great Tim Duncan from Wake Forest, shout out to Dr. Witt and Carolina, to come back, the boys, to take LeBron down. And again, for the second time in a row, Sacramento Kings, your Spurs would take down LeBron for a second time. They did in Cleveland. So I look for them to want, with the ratings, for Miami to be there, the villains go up against, you know, the God-feeling guys Spurs.
You know, Fred, I have never seen a team get as little love. When I say a team, I mean a winning team. A team with a winning pedigree get as little love as the San Antonio Spurs do. You would think, given everything they do, they have guys who are great on and off the court. You know, David Robinson, the Admiral, when he was there, he built a school for kids down in Texas after he retired. Tim Duncan is about, you look up fundamental in the book, his picture's right next to it. You know, the point guard, he has been awesome. Ginobili, Tony Parker's been awesome as a point guard, one of the better ones in the league that nobody really talks about until they are active with that championship crown in their hand. Ginobili has always been a good component. You know, you've got guys who come in there like Kawhi Leonard and others who just fit the script and they understand. And Popovich, if he's not the best coach in the league, he's damn close. But they don't get any. They get treated like redheaded stepchildren, and I just really want to know why.
Simple, small market.
Amen. Preach, brother.
That simple?
Preach. Yeah. Amen. Yep.
I'm surprised the NBA let them win.
Wow.
Don't testify. Come on.
Wow.
Because when you sit back and look, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, who gonna sell the most shirts?
That's right. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And remember, to us, it's a game that really truly means something. To them, it's truly sports entertainment.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
you get reminded of that every time we see the damn mouse on the air. I'm sorry.
We learned years ago that people can take a shot from anywhere on the court and hit it. We learned that from the Globetrotters. Meadowlark Lemon. How many times did you ever see Meadowlark Lemon miss that hook shot?
I've never seen him miss.
Yeah.
I've
never seen him. This is on half court.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, from half court. How many times have you ever seen him miss that shot? And that tells you can entertain with anything. And because of that, I mean, this is sports entertainment. This is not about truly winning and losing as we think of it.
True.
It's about entertainment. And the biggest entertainment for them is who's going to sell the most shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And see, I wouldn't trust the NBA or the NFL. Because don't you bet on this game? Heck no.
I don't. Donahue, referee Donahue.
Well, I mean, think about it. Just the other night, in baseball, this guy admitted, you know, and the reality is he did what he was, you know, he did it the way you're supposed to.
Right.
Realistically, the other guy should have been looking also. Think about it. Did he go around? The umpire behind the plate doesn't say he went around. It's the guy at first or third, depending on which side he's
getting reference. That's right.
So this is how games are controlled.
Yeah.
You know, you want to see who's gonna win? Watch how the fouls are called early. Tell real quick who's gonna win.
That's true.
You know, if you're forgetting, I mean, how do you take out these little schools? You don't take them out. You know, a call here and a call there. Now their best players got to play like he's not even there. Why? Because he's got foul trouble already.
Yeah.
So he wasn't that bad. That wasn't that bad of a foul. It doesn't matter. He got foul trouble. It's gonna get. And the harder he plays, the worse it's gonna get.
That's funny. I have to thank you, Fred, for that moment of clarity because, as you said that, I had flashed back in my mind where the Sacramento Kings, another small market team, had the LA Lakers on the ropes. I mean, they was whipping that ass.
Yep.
And this was the Shaq Kobe team. They were whipping that ass, and the referees literally got rid of every Sacramento King big man in like 10 minutes. I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. Whether it was like Nero passing the word from on high saying, we can't roll like this bullshit, get them out of there. So it's even more of a testament to the greatness. Well, you know, having said that, it's even more of a testament to the greatness of the San Antonio Spurs that they've won as many titles, knowing the league has been, actively interfering in them getting there. So, if we're talking true dynasty, I have to give San Antonio props over a lot of other franchises for the same small market argument that the professor, as astute as always, just made. So now we come to last licks. We come to last licks as the professor takes a bow, and we will get just a couple of programming notices actually before we jump in on that, because Fred, I have your piece. I'm working on it now for a Black Athlete. I had to backtrack and do a little extra work on my own thing because my proof finally came in. The last changes are being made, and my first book, Imitation in Life, shameless plug. My first book, Imitation in Life, will be available on Amazon as well as Kindle in a matter of a few days. Once all the corrections have been made and stuff like that, you will get an autographed copy. And I know Soul Patrol is out there, Code Caravan, everybody. What you hear is what you get. And I hope you'll appreciate what I write as well and indulge. I think you'll find it to be worth the money. And as always, it's going to be the first of 3 books that I have scheduled for this year. The second one is a science fiction book titled The Heroes of Harmony Corners, Part 1. And the third book is, well, let's just say, you can't have the kiddies. You ain't going to be reading kiddies this one, so we'll leave that one alone. But the first one, Imitation in Life, will be out in a few days, and it will be on our Soul Tree site, and it will be available via Amazon as well as Kindle. I thank the current staff here, my resident chefs and colleagues, for keeping me inspired, the professor especially, to remind me to get on my own thing and work and write, and I'm thankful to all of you for your input. So having said that, now it's time for Last Licks. So Reggie, throw something in the pot. Last Licks and shameless plug, please.
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to come on the show. I really appreciate it. But once again, we see the nigger factory being the NCAA and big college, and I hate to use that word, but it goes back to the quarterback of Notre Dame. I love my HBCUs, but you cannot sit here and tell me that with all the money Notre Dame has, that they could not sit back and get this young man some kind of tutoring or some kind of safety net. He was smart enough to get into Notre Dame with their high standards. How in the ham sandwich all of a sudden did he flunk out? So, I mean, something doesn't smell right about this whole picture. I don't know what's going on, but it makes you wonder what's the story behind it. So I'm just going to say that just keep an eye on that situation with Notre Dame. Follow up again that Democrats on a national level are a bunch of punks. I'll say that again, and I am a self-proclaimed independent. Matter of fact, when former Governor Gilmore, I was on one of his committees trying to get diversity in the Republican Party. And the Republican Party told us to go to hell. Matter of fact, a guy named Mr. Long, years ago, Jerry Long, used to be on conservative. I asked him point blank on his 50,000-watt station, why can't blacks come into the Republican Party? This was back when Doug Wilder was running for governor of Virginia. He told me, Carla, don't waste my time. And the Europeans got upset and called him out. 6 months later, he lost his job. All I'm saying is I don't give a damn that who gets the bill signed. I don't care who gets the credit. Just start helping people because we're in bad shape. Every Saturday is Sports Talk with Professor Tony Cobb, the Psychiatrist Glenn Brown, the Hall of Famer Coach Lou Anderson, and myself, Cowboy Red Jet, www.WTMRadioOnline.com. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Cowboy, as always, you're a wonderful human being, but we got to talk about that fucking team that you root for. But I digress.
Hey, can y'all win one Super Bowl, get one Lombardi Trophy for me? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right. We're going to rip your ass this year. I'm telling you. I can't let you.
Oh, you do have a Arena Football Trophy. I forgot. Arena Football. I'm
sorry. Can't let you get away with that. But having
said that.
Arena
Football Trophy.
That's right. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get your ass. That's right. To the professor. Professor, as always, you've laid a good table of food for thought tonight. You can take off your chef's hat now and throw something in the pot and your shameless plug, if you will.
Well, first of all, I want to take a moment and wish my baby, Rob, happy 30th birthday tomorrow.
All right.
Hope he enjoys everything up in the big city of Blacksburg.
Amen.
30 years ago, we were trying to see if we could save his life and all that other kind of stuff, and he made it. He's allegedly working on his PhD and all that other kind of good stuff.
Shit. Mm-hmm.
And over the last few days, since I did my Memorial Day theme Monday, I've been working on digging up some stuff that I started on some years ago with Coach McClendon, and that's doing the HBCU Heritage Hall of Fame and Museum, along with a couple of other projects that it's time to get done. So I'm working on that, and one of the ways I'm going to finance all this stuff is through book sales for the Sports Encyclopedia, regular and special editions, and there will be some information up on the Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff in the next few days. I've just got a little writing to do and got to ship it to Raleigh to get it done. But my website is www.blackheritagereview.com. That's www.blackheritagereview.com. We're going to solve some of the problems of that the NBA and all these other folks say they can't find information on our places. We're going to have a very specific place you can go to dig all this stuff up, and we're going to have a permanent place to immortalize these folks that did things for us, and that's the meat of it.
All right, Professor, as always, BlackHeritageReview.com, the Black College Sports Encyclopedia and special editions. They are there and available for purchase. We also have to take time to give a special belated happy birthday shout out to Sonic Cheryl. Her birthday was the 28th, as well as my baby brother Gigi. Happy birthday, G. His birthday is the 28th, and as well as my sister and my middle daughter Leah, who you both had a chance to meet over the phone at the very least, and my granddaughter Masika, who I call Rainey. She is graduating with honors with 2 diplomas, one for English and for French immersion, and she will be attending Capilano College this fall in British Columbia. I am so proud of her, as I am all my grandbabies. So, way to go, Rainey.
Damn, you
that's
old.
Right, I'm old.
That old?
I'm old. I did work. She did the work. Now it's her time to strut, and for me to just sit here and do some basking. So I'm in bask mode as we speak right now because I got to catch my breath and do work as well. So congratulations and all that other good stuff. And as we come to our final thought here, I want you all to think about the invasion of the body snatchers. Now, not the one where Donald Sutherland catches the girl off guard and it goes, ah, as he's pointing at her ass. But I'm talking about the original one, the classic one. The one where Hugh Marlowe is running through on the highway there screaming, "You're next! You're next!" Well, Hugh was right. Your ass is next. And this is why. You're next because we've seen some of the things that we just talked about in this show hit us harder than we care to admit. You have middle-class folks fronting that they're middle class when they're really at the tip of the lower side of things. We have lower class can't even upgrade because they're just barely trying to survive. They're a paycheck away from everything fucking up. And you have those who are barely making it put into even worse situations because things that were part of their safety net, like, say, food stamps or at least halfway decent public education, seem to be going by the wayside. And on the other end of these are those who are already affected by what they call the seed pods. These are the nut jobs, or the people who we call on the outside nuts, because you hear what they say and you see what they do and you think, they're so fucking irrational. How could they be taken seriously? Well, money is how they can be taken seriously. Because those seed pods falling from the sky and planting in the ground didn't just pop up and take over their bodies. Money is what took over. The same kind of money that would make public broadcasting, I repeat, that would make public broadcasting back up and turn down an opportunity to present a scathing documentary on two people like the Koch brothers, who we know are Dick Dastardly sons of bitches, but because they put so much financial weight on PBS had to back up. The professor himself said it during the discourse. He says, as D.L. Hewley used to say, Democrats like to fight, Republicans like to win. Not necessarily all these nut jobs are Republicans, but they've adopted a mindset where once they're infected with those seed pods of money or lobbying funds or some sort of political backing that they will tie into a cause that favors the elites or those who want to stay in control, then they're forever changed and their persona will never change, and they will always, like we talked about earlier with Patrick Farrar, where we could see a full jar of cookies in a clear glass cookie jar on a kitchen table. And one of these sons of bitches comes in and eats all the cookies, and then you walk in there, you see crumbs on his lips, the jar's empty, the lid is open, and you say, what happened to all the cookies? And they looking at you with a straight face and saying, I don't know. That's what we're talking about here. The seed pods of these greedy, insignificant, but very powerful people because the money makes them so. Somebody who wouldn't lift a finger to work in Australia, yet because she came into money and was from money, will tell the world that we need to get rid of all these poor people. Read black people, read not minorities, but read multi-ethnic folks that don't look like me and don't have the kind of funds or access to funds that I do. Kill all these sons of bitches, because what I'm not saying is that we really are genetically on the recessive end of the scale, and we can't have people admit that, because if they realize that genetics will take us out from sheer numbers of filial generations of human beings, we're doomed. And something I've always believed as a young kid, long before my mind had turned to any kind of what people might want to call militancy or conspiracy mindset or whatever, it was my belief that there are those who would rather blow this whole thing the fuck up rather than share any of it with anyone else in it. Having said that, be mindful of what you see. Believe none of what you see and none of what you hear. Think. Use your mind. Ask yourself the same questions that a reporter would ask when in doubt. Who, what, when, where. Who, what, why, when, where, and sometimes how, when you hear a story, if you're still listening to mainline news. Cyberspace is the place for information now until they try to close that up. You must remain informed. I know it can wear you down. Lord knows it wears my black ass down. And I know the brothers here with me and the rest of the Soul Tree staff, they have their own special burdens. But we keep doing it because we understand the bigger picture. If we don't do it, one day someone's going to roll up on us, just like they may roll up on you, and say, they're here already. You're next. We'll see you Saturday with our Saturday 2 to 4 show, followed by the Gray Leopard Cove with Gary Norris Gray from 4 to 5:30 East Coast, 1 to 2:30 West Coast. For myself, for Cowboy Reggie, for Professor Fred, for Patrick Farrar, for Sonic Cheryl, Celeste, Bobby, Rhonda, and all the rest of the gang, Sultry Radio and the Raw, kitchen's closed.